part, wait for it, 7 of the Last Epoch Season 3 Beneath Ancient Skies patch notes. Yeah. I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's beefy. It's like actually the first time I've ever wanted to like go through some patch notes like in this detail. It's the first time ever, pretty much, I've done it like in my life, and yeah. So obviously, it's gonna be the first time to ever do it on my YouTube channel. So let's keep moving here, my dudes. We have to cover the last part. So this is, I'm 100% sure. So I have been kind of like sneaking a little bit, scrolling a bit down the page here. So I know this is gonna be the last part of these patch notes. But yeah, I mean, there are gonna be some more patch notes soon. So if you are a viewer that really enjoys these patch notes readings, yeah, there is more coming, because we have another big ARPG releasing its 3rd season just around the corner, my dudes. So there will be more patch notes for you patch notes fiends out there. But for now, let's wrap up this Season 3 Last Epoch patch notes. So some changes to the enemies. I mean, it's not a change, it's more like they've added. So they've added 7 new champion enemies. That's it on the enemies. Yeah, like, that's it on the enemies. Nothing else has been changed on the enemies. That's it. So yeah, it's kind of fun when you get like these little topics right here for like changes and stuff, and then you have just like one line. It's just like 7 words or 6 words, and you know, that's it. Because a lot of these other yeah, I mean, a lot of these other topics are really beefy. So we're going to be moving on to the performance, my dudes. Optimized memory allocation across the game. Yeah, so that's probably going to be a good one for the performance, right? Created a new graphics settings to control the amounts of lights emitted by visual effects. Lowering can improve performance on slower configurations. Improves the performance in chaotic battles. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I was thinking about this just yesterday, because I was doing some Season 3 prepping. And yeah, I was thinking about this actually. Like, sometimes when there is a lot of enemies, like, you will get these performance drops. So this is probably a good thing right here. Fixed a common source of hitches during gameplay. Yeah. Enabled texture streaming all across all of the game's assets for reduced memory usage and improved loading times. The texture quality settings set by the master quality option have been adjusted to account for this change. Since the game uses at least 25% less VRAM with full texture resolution enabled, we have lowered the VRAM requirements. 2 GB excuse me, my dudes. 2 GB VRAM cards can now use the low preset. 4 GB cards and Steam Decks can now use the medium preset. 6 GB cards and up still use the high preset. Okay. Please note that memory usage also depends on the rendering resolution. They have introduced a system that limits numbers and types of visual effect lights based on quality settings to improve performance. Created a new graphic setting to control the amounts of lights emitted by visual effects. Lowering can improve performance on slower configurations. Improves the performance in chaotic battles. Yeah. Adjusted the lighting and shadows in the Haven of Silk to improve performance. Adjusted vegetation settings in Champion's Gate to improve performance. Optimized visual effects performance on the following enemies: Titan Leech, Blood Gorgon, Blood Chimera, Blood Serpent, and Elder Gaspar Husk. Okay. The following menus have had some changes to how they load to optimize their performance and reduce hitches when opened. passive tree menu, skill tree menu, woven faction menu, weaver faction tree menu, stash menu, cosmetics menu, and the settings menu. Reduced frame rate hitches when spawning gear and NPCs. Improved game quality for connections with high packet loss. Okay. Then some localization. Added localization for runic invocation skills. Okay. Moving on to others. Change the WASD controls for warpath so that if no movement button are pressed, the warpath is stationary. Instances of text reading chance to bleed have been updated to chance to inflict bleed for clarity and better readability. Movement abilities should now be more reliable when used around non-standard terrain. Updated the game credits. Game guide. Added 2 new pages. The Rift Beasts. It's under the other menu. And primordial items, that's going to be under items. Adjusted several other pages to account for new and changed mechanics. Okay, nice. Now for the visual and sound updates. So, for the skills, focus, the base ability visuals have been updated. Elemental aura visuals have been added. The conveyance node visuals have been updated. The energy overflow node visuals have been updated. Ring of Shields. Here are the changes to Ring of Shields. The immolation node visuals have been updated. The collateral damage node visuals have been updated. The healing shields node visuals have been updated. And the visuals for when a shield dies have been updated. Okay. Acid Flask. Poison traps from Acid Flask now has a range indicator. Death Seal updated the visuals for Death Seal. Okay. Earthquake added visuals for Earthquake's lightning aftershocks. Bone Curse improved Bone Curse necrotic aura visibility. Updated Umbral Blades cold explosion visual effects. Updated Harvest's visual effect. Adjusted the trail visual to be less bright and shorter for the shurikens. Added a sound for the Primalist companion revive interaction. Tempest More Unique updated the visual effect of the storm sprites from the Tempest More Unique. Frozen Ire Unique updated the visual effects of the Unique's Tundra Nova ability. Okay, so some updates to skills like the visuals and some sound. What about the visuals and sound for enemies and NPCs here, my dudes? Enemies have a new visual effect when frozen. Okay. Most frozen enemies now visually shatter on death. They do not shatter if they're erased with a Erasing Strike or a similar effect that leaves no corpse, killed with fire or poison damage, or if they're a boss or another particularly large enemy. Okay. Reduced screen shake on slaughtered thrall explosions. Toned down the champion visual indicator surrounding the model. Okay. Update Admiral Hearten and Hearten's Husk weapon visuals. Okay. Updated sand visuals for abilities used by multiple enemies for improved visibility. Updated visuals of cave spiders. Interesting. Reduced cave spiders entrance animation length. Added outlines to soul generators in the Altar of Flesh. Bitterwing updated the visual effects of their breath attack. Fate Weaver Lachesis updated its shocking fate and attack indicator visual. Exiled Mage added visual effects surrounding them. Okay, nice. That's cool. Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see like the visual changes, because on the video material that we have actually seen before, you know, the visuals that we have actually been seeing from like the new content, it seems like the enemies and the areas looks so much better than like what we already have. So I'm super interested in seeing like if there is going to be like a lot of changes, like you're going to feel like a lot of changes throughout, you know, throughout the campaign. and the earlier parts, or if it's gonna be like strictly like the new areas are gonna be like the best looking. Because that's gonna be a bit weird, right? If it's like it's kind of like this visual quality up until a certain point where just like the quality goes all the way up here for the visuals. So it's gonna be interesting to see if it's just gonna be like a new content thing, or if it's gonna be like for the like entire like a big upgrade for everything. Okay, so for the voice acting, my dudes, added voice acting for the following NPCs: the Oracle, Roach Sabat, the Outcast Seer, Last Imperial, and Architect Lyat. Okay. Environment and zone following Monolith Echo scenes have had visual updates: Forsaken Hamlet, Serpentine Desert, Burning Harbor, Ancient Cavern, Lost Catacombs, Defiled Valley. Okay, so just one little comment right here on the environment and the zones. I think that the environment and the zones, it feels like some of the environments are like really good. And other environments, it feels like you are just zooming through them. You're not even thinking about, you know, what your surroundings are. I think there is like a little there could be like some changes done. I mean we might have some changes done. I'm not sure. Like we're just gonna have to wait and see. But it feels like some of the areas could need some more love, you know. So the Monolith Stone has improved visuals. Brightness of the light on the Stolen Lands Monolith Island has been reduced. New music for the Temporal Sanctum dungeon. Music will now transition from Ruined Era to Divine Era when the player switches eras. Okay. Added a musical stinger for when the player gets his items from the Eternity Cache. Okay, nice. Moving on to other visual and sound updates. They have rebuilt the audio mix to improve combat clarity and feedback. The new mix allows for further range of combat weight and sound prioritization. Okay, interesting. Added new visual effects when entering a time rift. Updated model and icon for the Pyre of Affliction unique. Updated model and icon for the Bulwark of the Last Abyss unique. Added new visuals for controller long press prompts. Updated the visuals for unstable rifts. Improved the visual that plays for Woven Echo rewards crafts. Removed the hover visual indicator on portals when the transition is loading. Reduced the frequency of the Chrono Worm's wailing sound. Okay. So for the cosmetics here, these are the new supporter packs. I mean, we don't have to go through them, I think. MTX improvements, okay. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So cosmetic items on existing characters may need to be re-equipped at the start of Season 3 due to the changes to the cosmetic system, okay? Cosmetics can now be used in offline and true offline mode. Players must first access the appearance panel in either offline or online mode in order to access it in true offline mode. Okay. Same cosmetic pet can now be equipped in both pet slots. Well, that's cool, so you can have two of the same. Added a new cosmetic equip slot for customizing your portal visuals when in a completed echo. Okay. Both default and echo completed portal slots can now be independently set or cleared. The same cosmetic portal can be assigned to both portal slots. The default portal slot uses a blue portal if not using a cosmetic portal. Echo completed portal slot uses a green portal if not using a cosmetic portal. And added a new version of the cosmetic item Gauntlet of Fury Judgment. Version 2 is not as bright as version 1. Abyssal supporter packs will be removed from the shop on the 8th of September. Yeah, 2025. So we got a bunch of new like store items here. I don't think I'm gonna go through like the store items and stuff. I mean, that's gonna be all up to you if you're playing Last Epoch, if you want to yeah, go and get some items from the shop, but I'm not gonna go through every single one of them here. Okay, bug fixes. Yeah, that's right. Let's get into some bug fixes. So bugs fixes for skills, and we're starting off with the Sentinel here. Fixed Void Cleave with active Gravity's Edge node doesn't lose its traversal ability when buffered. Okay. Fixed the bug where healing visuals for Ring of Shields were not in the correct place. Fixed Iron Form node was not granting invulnerability or preventing movement and ability usage on Ring of Shields. Fixed an issue where Shield Rush with the desynchronous charge node would sometimes fail to pull the player back. Fixed an issue where Multi-Strike would not move short distances when using WASD controls. Fixed a bug which caused the Blade Paladin node in Vengeance to grant fire penetration per overcapped fire resistance to Time Rot instead of Ignite when converted to fire. Fixed the bug causing the manifested armor to sometimes briefly start its walking animation in between melee attacks. Okay. Moving on to the rogue. Fixed an issue. Hold on. Actually, one thing, my dudes. It's like one thing I've been wondering. So I was a little bit surprised because I've been experiencing the warpath bug, like a warpath bug on my Sentinel. I'm not 100% sure it's a bug, but it feels like sometimes, so maybe it's just me being a total noob, not understanding that this is supposed to be happening, but sometimes when I'm triggering my warpath, it's like it's getting stuck. So I keep spinning. So, you know, when you press down, you channel warpath, I mean, you are spinning, but as soon as you release the button, you stop spinning, or you are supposed to be stop spinning, right? Sometimes it doesn't stop spinning. Sometimes it just keeps going. I don't know if this is a bug or if it's me being an ultra noob, but I think it's a bug. Okay, anyway. Moving on to the rogue changes here. Fixed an issue with all trap skills that makes them render below decals. Fixed the bug where Shadow Cascades damage would scale with the increased damage per arrow with multi-shot affix, when the player also had the increased damage per active shadow with Shadow Cascade affix. Fixed an issue where the parting gift node for shift fails to drop acid flask traps at the start location of the dash if you had Alchemist's gift node allocated for acid flask. Fixed an issue where acid flask poison pools would not revert back to the normal visual when a cosmetic was removed from the skill. Kismets are now being granted successfully while the penumbral ambush node is allocated in the puncture skill tree and you hit an enemy. Fix an enemy where Cadence of Death was not applying its more damage to every third puncture. Moving on to the mage, Glyph of Dominion, fixed Glyph of Dominions floating mid-air for a few frames after casts in online. Fixed an issue where Snap Freeze would not take the effects that recovered a percentage of the remaining cooldowns if it still had charges remaining. Fixed the bug where Sap Warmth did not grant cold resistance to the player with when Snap Freezing. Runic Invocation fixed an issue where the Blizzard's Invocation visual effect could appear black. Okay. Moving on to the Primalist. Summon Sabertooth. Fixed the bug where Summon Sabertooth still had a physical minion tag after allocating Ice Tiger. Fixed the bug where Claw of Stones did not work for swipes used by your bear. The Claw totems created by your bear still count as being created by you, not by your bear. Fixed an issue where Eviscerating Howl node would not apply bleed stacks if Warcry did not have another effect that allow it to hit enemies. Fixed a bug which could cause Fury Leap to stop granting Frenzy to minions when you use waypoints. Fixed an issue where Tornado would incorrectly show the lightning tag if the Charge Storm node was allocated and Gathering Storm was converted to cold or physical. Fixed the bug causing the Sabertooth to sometimes briefly start its walking animation in between melee attacks. Fixed an issue where if a player had multiple raptors summoned at one time, such as with Gnawl's Tooth, they would each display their own portrait amongst the minion portraits instead of having one combined with a numeric counter on how many were active. Okay, yeah. Moving on to the Acolyte. Fixed a bug where the sight component of Harvest's visual would visually increase in size after its first cast in each new echo. Soul Feast's Soul Seeker node now correctly scales with intelligence. Thank you. Fixed a bug where Rip Blood had 15 base damage instead of its intended 20. Fixed a bug where Harvest did not display a physical conversion option in the skills panels tag. Fixed a bug causing the more damage bonus from Necrotic Audience node to scale with the current number of minions for the sacrifice. Fixed an issue where replacing Summon Skeletal Mage ability in the ability bar would only unsummon one Skeletal Mage instead of all of them. Fixed the bug where Summon Skeleton Mage did not display unilluminated cold and fire tags in the skills panel when the Cryomancers and Pyromancers nodes were unallocated. Fix an issue where casting Reap at the same time as Reaper form automatically ended could result in the player being stuck in place until they use another ability. Fix the bug where Reaper form did not display in illuminated cold, poison, or physical tags in the skills panel when the Grave Chill, Pestilence, or Blood Moon Reaver nodes were unallocated. More Reaper's form here. Grave Chill node now removes Reaper form's Necrotic tag and adds the cold tag. Pestilence node now removes Reaper form's Necrotic tag and adds the poison tag. And also Reaver node now removes Reaper's form, Necrotic tag, and adds the physical tag. Yeah. So Bone Golems here. Fix the bug where Bone Shatter from the Bone Hail node would not only create a single projectile on uses after the first. Fix the bug causing the Bone Golems to sometimes briefly start its walking animation in between melee attacks. Fixed a bug where Chains of the Betrayer was applying its damage and area modifiers to cast of Chaos Bolts that only produce a single Chaos Bolt per cast, as if those casts were producing multiple projectiles. This node no longer benefits casts, which can only produce a single projectile. Okay. Fixed an issue where the visuals for Drain Life, while the Dark Shackles nodes was allocated, would move whenever the player used another ability. Fixed an issue where Soul Feast did not display an unilluminated physical tag in the skills panel when the Blood Feast node was unallocated. Alright, a bunch of fixes, my dudes. Other fixes here fixed several issues with the movement abilities, visual syncing, and smoothness between party members. Fixed an issue where if your health leech brought you to full health, the leech stacks would fail to fall off immediately if you had a continuous drain effect that causes you to lose health before your next frame. Fixed the bug which caused lightning infusion from Boardman's Plank to not do anything. Fixed the unique item Corsair's Boarding, shields being invisible. Improved protection against desyncs after using Evade in online mode. Fixed an issue where minions would target spires while they were invulnerable before their guardian had been defeated. Okay. Changes to the campaign. Fixed an issue where abilities were used in incorrect directions in the precipice. Moved a floating chest in the Wraith Dunes. Why? I mean, that's so cool. Fixed an issue where players could bypass Panion's Husk. Fixed a visual issue in Necropolis of the Deep where the soul cages would appear to flicker. Fixed an issue causing projectiles to be destroyed immediately in some areas of this scene of the crumbling ruins. Now, for changes to the monolith, fix an issue where the character would slide after using a movement ability on the green portal in monolith. Moonwalking or monowalking. Fixed the player character getting stuck in gold props and silk statues in cemeteries. Arena Waves counter is now properly removed from the UI when you leave an arena echo in the monoliths. Fixed an issue where harbingers would aim into the ground when trying to target squirrels and totems. What? Fixed incorrect visuals of the Whirlwind Zone ability used by the Harbinger at the end of the Age of the Winter timeline. Fixed a bug causing vegetation to fail to show, sometimes in the Monolith Echo scene snowbound graves. A few visual anomalies has been corrected in the End of Time scene. Monolith Echo of a World would now probably show its floor and decoration details. Fixed animation issues with Frost Chieftain NPC in the Blood, Frost, and Death timeline quest echoes. Fixed an issue where you could walk through some walls in the Frozen Fortress quest echo. Interacting with the stash button in the enchantment altar in Tombs should no longer appear to visually open the stash located on the other end of the room. Improved ranged attack aiming in cemeteries. Shrine buffs now correctly get removed in Shade of Orbis and Abreth's Arena. Fix the Conquered Tower Woven Echoes firewall environment effect not being visible and improved performance of the scene. Fixed an issue that could lead to two cemetery entrances spawning in an echo in specific circumstances. Fixed an issue where tomes of experience could sometimes not be picked up in an echo of a world in online mode. Fixed an issue where under certain circumstances echo rewards chests could erroneously contain no rewards. Changes to the dungeon. Fixed an issue, or dungeons, I guess, or is it just like dungeon in general? Let's see. Fix an issue where some characters would fail to be able to start a dungeon run. Arena changes. Fix an issue where under certain circumstances using the respawn button while in the arena would not remove the death screen. Fix an issue where the enter arena button would not update to indicate it was clickable after a key had been placed in its slots. Okay. Changes to factions. Fixed a bug where dying in hardcore would result in Weaver Tree point loss. Fixed an issue with navigation of the Weaver factions menu with a controller. Killing Lagon in Monolith now more reliably triggers the completion of prophecies. Fixed an issue that were imprinting items when you had a full inventory could lead to them seeming to disappear. They now will fall on the ground in this specific circumstance. Fixed a bug where similar items dropped from imprints were sometimes giftable. Similar items now always require a resonance to gift, and this is mentioned in the old text for the notes. Nice. Moving on to the enemies. Fixed an issue where Radomasa, the cursed champion, would use her melee attacks when out of range. Fixed an issue where Calidan, the Needler champion's projectile attack, didn't sync correctly in online. Fixed visual bugs in the online attacks of Nemesis soldiers, cold, poison, and lightning. Fixed a visual issue with the Grail miniboss. Fixed an issue with the timing of Loom Walker's attacks. Fixed an issue with Void Nemesis effusive decay ability and reduced pool collision size. Fixed an issue where some of the attacks of Void Touch archivists would stutter in online mode. Fixed Scalebane enemies not displaying a hover outline or top of screen health bar. Fixed an issue where the Fallen Osprix would not have outline and health bar online. Fixed a bug for the hop backwards ability of the Scourge of the Skies champion. It would slide backwards instead of dashing backwards in online mode. Okay. Little moonwalk there. Fixed Vangari Shaman's Ice Shield ability appearing on the floor online. Fixed projectiles stuttering during Atrop's Silk Slash attack. Fixed a bug where some enemies that were supposed to instantly disappear or visually explode on death had their models incorrectly persist for up to a second. Fixed an issue where some enemies were out of sync with their animations, and fixed a bug where enemy attack animations could appear, delayed relative to their attack effects and damage, removed immobility frame between Fateweaver Lachesis abilities, fixed an issue with Guild Leader Shadow visuals, fixed an issue with Spine Hunter enemies where they would not sink into the ground on death, fixed a visual issue with Frost Lich Formosa's weapon, fixed an issue that could sometimes cause enemy casting visual effects to be positioned incorrectly in online mode, fixed the projectiles from Hollow Druan's Thorn attack not moving smoothly, fixed a visual issue with Husk of Elder Panion's lightning attack area of effect indicator, fixed enemies from the Fractured Monster mod not scaling with area level, fixed an issue where enemies wouldn't freeze their animation when returning back to idle after attack. This would sometimes result in a noticeable hitch as they were transitioning between animations. Fixed an issue with enemy charging attacks where they would sometimes not face in the direction of their charge. Okay. Now for some UI. Loot filter fixed an exception when deleting the first condition in the rule of the loot filter. Fixed an issue that would break the loot filter UI after spamming duplicate/delete rule buttons. Fixed an issue where the item type rule could not be set in the loot filter. And fixed an issue where the text in the color selection could go out of the UI. Alright. Off to the stash, my dudes. Fixed a bug where Woven Echo crafts could not be clicked if the quick view sidebar was open on the stash and it overlapped the crafting UI. Fixed a bug where stash buttons in crafting UIs were not always setting search macros when opening the stash. Fixed an issue where the player could get in a state where they would be unable to interact with the configure stash tab/category buttons using a mouse. Fixed stash tabs rearrangement issues after their configuring. Stash tab letter spacing is now consistent with other nearby text. Fixed an issue where clicking a stash interactable while you already had the stash UI open would close the UI and reopen it. Fix an issue where opening the stash would close all other menus before opening the stash and inventory. This had resulted in a momentary flickering of the inventory menu or item tooltips that were on your cursor at the time of opening the stash. Fix composing multiple rejects into a single stash expression. Okay. So a bunch of changes to the controller here also. Fixed a bug where item tooltips would appear inside panels when switching between active controllers and having all the panels closed. Fixed a bug where pressing the menu button on controller when the radial menu was open would open the game menu instead of toggling the loot filter labels. Fixed multiple issues with navigating the Nemesis panel with a controller. Fixed several controller navigation issues in the stash window. Fixed an issue where the idles tutorial could be blocked by item tooltips if you had a full inventory. Fixed an issue where cancelling the equipping of an old idle will return it to the inventory instead of closing the menu. Fixed an issue where abilities on the action bar could stop responding if added/removed to the action bar multiple times. Fixed an issue where cancelling an input with a controller while in a settings drop-down would move the cursor to the top of the menu instead of remaining at that drop-down. Fixed an issue where the directional pad on controller could not be held down to continuously scroll through the blessings list in the inventory menu. Fixed an issue where hitting the button to transfer an item from inventory to stash, or vice versa, when you were hovering over an empty slot, would move your cursor. Okay. Fixed an issue in character creation where the virtual keyboard would appear before you had reached the section where you need to input text. Okay. Alright. Now to the other. Fixed unintentional character movement when player interacts with UI. Yeah, that's good, because sometimes you kind of like you want to click something on your UI, and you don't want to like move your character, but it still happens. So this is a good change. Fix an issue where the movement tutorial tooltip displayed mouse controls even when keyboard mode was enabled. Fix the bug where Harbinger eyes could be quick moved into the Aberoth entrance panel when it's still locked. Fix an issue causing blessing tooltips to stay on after switching to inventory. Fix the crafting materials panels, not including the last character typed when searching affixes. Fix unique and set items linked in chat appearing with transparent color. Electrified chance and increased electrified duration now correctly show their description when hovered over in character stats. Fixed misalignment of the monolith complete green portal button when using a UI scale other than default. Prevented horizontal stretching of social panels entries and non-default UI scaling. Corrected the position of the portal tutorial tooltip at all UI scales, including default. Adjusted width of the restore defaults button in mapping panel to fit text in all localizations. Fixed an issue that caused ground loot labels to overlap in some circumstances. Fixed the bug that would break dungeon entrance menu navigation if you navigated to the key slot and hit confirm. Fixed the title in Merchant's Guild rank panel not being left aligned. Fixed an issue in the skill tree menu where root node tooltips did not appear when hovering the cursor over the node itself. Fixed an issue where incorrect tooltip was displayed for glyphs in the crafting panel. Fixed an issue where certain circumstances loot labels could appear over the top of narrative cinematic sequences. Fixed an issue where the display health bar over enemies option erroneously affected minions. And fix an issue where assigning additional copies of any companion ability to the action bar would sometimes result in that companion ability never changing to that companion's ability when at the limit for that companion. Also fixed an issue in the game store where items featured in the All Cosmetics tab could erroneously be moved down a row, leaving a visual gap in the listings. Okay. Bro, we are getting close to the end here, my dudes. Let's dive into the changes to the text. Fixed 2 typos in the Flame Reeve and Black Hole skill tree. Fixed the Forge tutorial tooltip showing an incorrect prompt. Fixed capitalization inconsistencies in shard names. Fixed various localization issues across multiple in-game areas. Tomb exit names now correctly update their localization when updated in the settings. Fixed an issue when using Russian with the mastery respec menu failing to properly display gold required to respec if you did not have enough. Fixed missing translations for Spire names. Removed mention of the deprecated player-to-player trading feature from the Merchant's Guild rank descriptions. Changes to Summon Scorpion. Fixed the typo in the node Winternid Jaws. Fixed the typo in Druid's Fetid Resonance node. Other changes: fixed an issue where characters were unable to log into certain town servers until the client changed regions. Fixed an issue where the player can get stuck after interaction while using WASD. Fixed an issue where loot would be collected when the player moved close, even if the click to pickup had been interrupted by WASD movement. So this made me think about a thing. Like, I'm hoping, so like for the, you know, it also feels like for health potions, like picking up health potions, it feels like that should be changed. That should be better. I think just running over a potion should automatically pick it up. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, and if it's just buggy as hell, but it feels like sometimes you really have to click it. Like, you have to click the name. And if you're in the middle of a fight and like you really need a potion and you can't manage to like click it, or it's almost like it's getting harder to click it. Yeah, I think something needs to change with the potion pickups. Fixed evade snapping near map edges online. Fixed the bug where the move or attack option wouldn't update correctly when player resigns the bounce scale. Fixed when using evade, the player's flickering at the end of the movement is no longer possible to get stuck outside the playable space with evade. Re-added Aberoth command unique art. Fix an issue where, when using movement skills in the water surface in the cemetery while offline, the player moved along the ground surface instead of being lifted to the water level. Fixed Eternity Cache animation when crafting legendary items in online. Fixed an issue where Nemesis could add a third prefix/suffix to a legendary item. Fixed visual effect spam from instant cast abilities if a player has pressed the button repeatedly. Fixed the bug where Crystal Core offhand catalyst would sometimes shift off center. And also changes to the stash macros. Fixed the bug where the LP macro was matching unique idols even though they can't have legendary potential. Fixed the bug where the trade macro was matching faction tagged items. Fixed the bug where the experimentable macro was not excluding items with 0 forging potential or fewer than 2 prefixes. Fixed an exception when hovering over equipped items. Fixed an issue where characters' gear could fail to visually show for a moment when loading into a scene. Okay. Fix an issue that could cause a client crash when using both analog sticks at once. With a controller? What? Fix some crashes where items could visually duplicate while playing with high ping under certain circumstances. These items would not exist on the server and would go away on transition. But now they will no longer appear at all, causing fewer cases of confusion. Well, that sounded like a freaking clunky one. Fixed an issue where using WASD and pressing against the corner caused the character to move back and forth in place. Fixed an issue where players could get stuck in a loading screen when relogging back into the same location through character select. Fixed the visual issue with the unique two-handed sword Hollow Blade. Fixed an issue where it was possible to place incompatible items in the Eternity Cache. Fixed an issue that was causing minion unsummon audio to play during scene transitions. Cosmetics. Fixed the bug where changing equipped companion cosmetics would not update that companion's visuals until it was re-summoned. Fixed an issue where UI and inputs could break after being disconnected due to inactivity. Fixed an issue that could cause cutscenes to be out of sync between party members that enter the scene at different times. And lastly, fixed an issue where you could see an incorrect character portrait while in a party. And that's it, my dudes. That's it for the Season 3 Beneath Ancient Skies Patch Notes Part 7. We are through it all, my dudes. I mean, it took me some hours, some videos, freaking 7 videos right here on the channel. If you want to see the earlier ones, you can see them. There's gonna be a playlist at the end of this video. You can hit that playlist and you can go check out the other parts if you want to see all the other parts. It feels great to actually be through this. Like I really committed to this, and I really decided, yeah, I'm gonna freaking read the patch notes from start to finish. We only skipped a few like cosmetic microtransaction stuff. I mean, you can go check that out for yourself in the store. I don't want to like be any salesperson here trying to push cosmetics items on you. So yeah, you're gonna have to figure out that stuff by yourself. But yeah, I'm happy to be through. 2 days left, my dudes. We have 2 days left. So tomorrow is going to be the downtime for the Last Epoch servers before they are getting ready to launch the Season 3. Super hyped. I'm super hyped. And tomorrow, while the Last Epoch servers are down and none of us can actually play online, I mean, we can play offline if we want, so we can do preparations offline. But I am definitely going to be watching the GGG live tomorrow. I'm gonna make a video, my dudes, of my commentary. I hope you're gonna join me for that one as well. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm Mounts and Fairy Tales. You are you. If you like this video, hit me up with a like. If you want to see more content like this, consider hitting me up with a sub and hit the notification bell, so you will get notifications when I'm dropping new videos. And that's gonna be it, my dudes. That's gonna be it. I will see you in the next video. And as always, thank you ever so much for watching.